Going on the Krueg Show after Warrior basketball, after Kings basketball, and soon to be after Giants baseball. Brett Sable is at the plate. Giants down 6-2, first and third situation right here. We welcome in Bayareaballer. Baller, good to see you. We're coming on at the end of the Giants game. Giants look like they're going down to defeat. They're down to their final out. Brett Sable, who has gone deep in this game, is up with 2 on and 2 out. Giants down 4 runs as the top of the ninth was kind of a disaster. We'll get to the Giants as well. But also tonight we come to you after Warrior basketball, Warriors and Kings in the preseason. It is a final at the Golden One Center, Sacramento, with the 100-94 win over Golden State. The debut of Brandon Podziemski in a Warrior uniform. Before we get into all the details, what'd you think, Baller? What'd you think of the man they call Pods?
Yeah, I was locked in on Pods. Being the first round pick of the Warriors, I was paying extra close attention to the Santa Clara product. Got off to a slow start, I thought. He was looking to pass.
He was.
What I saw, Larry. He was looking,
and he was turning it over because they were playing him to pass.
They were playing him to pass. There were a couple times he came off a screen, nice little mid-range 15-footer, and he doesn't take the shot that's open. Yeah, he tries to squeeze it between a couple guys. It's a turnover. I thought he did make a couple of nice passes. So while he was looking to pass, he did connect on a few. 6 assists, I think was the second most for the team today. He also drew a couple charges. Like, you see his energy. The kid was playing with energy, led the team in rebounds on the night. I want to say he had 6 or 7 boards.
Yeah, 6 rebounds, 6. It was 12, 6, and 6 for Podziemski in 30 minutes on 4 of 9 shooting. Hit 1 of 3 threes, hit 3 of 4 from the line. So, yeah, 12.6 boards, 6 assists.
Something I'm watching with him, Larry, is he going to use his right hand? Is he at all during the summer league? I don't. If you said, Baller, the over-under's at 1 on made shots with his offhand, which is right hand, I think I'd take the under. He is so left-hand dominant, and it was something, after we drafted him, I'm watching the footage at Santa Clara. He does everything he can to get back to that left hand. He'll spin, and yeah, he got away with it in the WCC, but at the NBA level with that length, if defenders know that you're one-dimensional and they can kind of play you that way, I could see that causing some problems. Now, what will help him in that area is he does have a nice floater. It didn't drop tonight. I think he missed a couple floaters I saw, but it is there. It's nice. So that will assist him because he's not going all the way to the rim and he's getting that floater off early over defenders. So, it's game 1. I don't want to, and it's summer league. Man, that first quarter was ugly, Larry. I got to be honest. The first quarter was ugly. Things started picking up. And then how about Lester Quinones? I mean, that was the player of the game, at least on the Warriors side. I thought Lester was
He can shoot it. He had 5 threes. He took 8. He made 5. He scored 26. Quinones might be a scorer for them off the bench for sure. Lou Marston in the chat. He's like, is this summer league or is this summer league no one cares about, or Giants baseball who can't hit again but loves striking out? By the way, Brett Sable has gone yard. So it's now 6-5. And then Flores just got a ground ball infield single to shortstop. So now Crawford is up. If Crawford hits one out, the Giants walk off and win this 7-6.
Yeah, you're my eyes because I stepped away from the TV. I was locked in. I saw Camilo had a rough 9th. Every once in a while, he can get a wild hair up his nose, and that ball was all over the place coming out of his hand.
Yes, Sawalo was on the mound or Seawald for Seattle. There's so many baseball players I have no idea about at this point. Seawald, I mean, I wouldn't know Seawald if you hit me with him, but he throws mid-90s. But he's up here pitching to Crawford in a 6-5 game with the guy Flores at first after, the one guy. The Giants have one guy in their lineup right now who's hitting the ball hard, and it's Brett Sable. That's it. Sable's hitting it hard. Not everybody, pretty much everybody else is not. So he just struck out Crawford to make it 6-5 final. So the Giants come back, they battle back, but their losing ways continue. They get out hit 10-7. They lose 6-5 to the Mariners, and the Mariners just had a big ninth inning against Camilo Doval. Rodriguez had a big shot in there as well, and now the Mariners are doing some weird little dance in the middle of the field, which I've never seen before. But we'll do both tonight. We'll talk Giants and Warriors. But let's finish our conversation on the Summer League game. It's a tough watch. There was no Trace Jackson Davis tonight. I was hoping to see Trace Jackson Davis. We didn't see him.
Did you hear why? They kind of slipped it in. Yeah, they kind of slipped it in real quick during the broadcast. Hamstring, unfortunately. Hamstring. So that makes me wonder if we're going to see him at all. You and I both know hamstrings, those things can be tricky. They can put you out a while. So that was unfortunate because Trace Jackson Davis, out of all these players on the Warriors and specifically that we're watching, I thought Jackson Davis had a chance of making an impact year one, more of an impact than Podziemski, who was the first round pick. Playing the 4 years. So I was disappointed to hear that we didn't get to see him. And now I'm wondering if we're even going to get to see him at all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Because these games are also tightly grouped, right? They play like a few games here, and then they play it's like 3 in SAC and then like 5 in Vegas, and it's all within the next 10 days or so, I believe. So, yeah, so it doesn't sound like we'll see Jackson Davis, but outside of Quinones and Podziemski, there wasn't a ton to watch as far as the rest of the team. I don't see anybody that's like, so like maybe that there was one guy today, Yuri Collins, who did have 7 assists in 15 minutes, and he's obviously a pass first point guard. So he looked pretty good. And Santos definitely looks like or Quinones definitely looks like a shooter. Which maybe Quinones can be a cheap, cost efficient player off the bench as a swing man. Maybe they can go that direction. One interesting note on the Warriors, by the way, before we get into the Giants as well, we'll get into the Giants and their loss. But Podziemski, if you just tuned in, 30 minutes for Brandon Podziemski, shot 4 of 9, 1 for 3 from the field, 3 for 4 from the line. Had a pretty good rebounding night, and he led the WCC with almost 9 rebounds a game this year. So we should expect him to rebound, and tonight he did. 12 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists for Podziemski, but he also had 4 turnovers, and he kept forcing the ball. They were playing him to pass. He was looking to pass. He didn't seem like he was for a guy who can shoot the ball as well as he can, and he's on the Summer League without a lot of firepower. I mean, just to put this in perspective, only 3 Warriors scored in double figures the whole night. So he had as many shots as he wanted out there, but he only took 9. I thought he probably passed up at least 4 or 5 shots, but that's just it is what it is. Doesn't really matter this point in the off season. But one of the things I think is kind of interesting. Tell me what you think, Baller, so far as just trying to read like what Golden State's done so far. They traded for Chris Paul. They signed Corey Joseph, who's also a point guard. What are you making of their offseason? It feels, I mean, they went after Eric Gordon, didn't get him. He's another 2 guard. There's talk that they or one of the teams that's after Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley is a 6'4", 6'5", 2 guard. Why are they pursuing all these 2 guards unless are they going to trade a 2 guard? Are they going to trade a Moses Moody? Are they going to trade a Klay Thompson? What is your read on why they keep going after smaller players when it seems that they need a bigger player?
I think they've hit their cap on smaller guards. Like, this is it. You could say, maybe it's one too many, but they wanted the 3rd guard, obviously Chris Paul, Steph Curry, like a 3rd ball handler. And Corey Joseph is that guy. He's a safe player, good assist to turnover ratio. Obviously he's a veteran. I mean, it's, you don't have me jumping for joy with the Corey Joseph signing, but I guess I understand it now. It feels like the Warriors. I mean, it's like Dario Saric or bust at this point. Like if they don't get Saric, then
Even if
I
they
think
do, I mean, what is Sar? If they bring Draymond back, and they have,
yeah.
and they've made the deal for Poole for Paul, okay. Now they've signed Corey Joseph. I'll give him the Dario Saric. Let's
Which
say
that's
they
no certainty. What if some team comes in, they got some leftover cap and they say, hey, Dario, 5 mil. And the Warriors can't offer that.
right, but let's just assume since it's been rumored that they're going to land him. Okay, they're still not a contender. I mean, they're not a title contender in my mind. As is, no way. They're getting older. Come on. I don't see that. I'm not seeing title contender. And we got this one from AB. Says Saric isn't making any difference. Stop kidding yourselves. Well, I mean, he may make a somewhat of a difference, but I'm not saying that he's a zero. I like Dario Saric. Got a high basketball IQ. He can play the pick and pop game. He's
I think he could make an Otto Porter level difference. That's what I'm getting at. I think Dario Saric he's a good basketball player now. This would be his second year removed from the ACL, and sometimes you hear it takes more than just 1 year to get over fully back from that ACL. Saric, I think he would be a good fit. I'm hoping it happens, but I'm not counting the chickens before they hatch.
Yeah. So I don't know what's, to me, I don't know what's coming next, but I hope something's coming next. Otherwise, this is a very sleepy off season for Golden State, and there's no way they're going to be able to just add Chris Paul, Dario Saric, and Corey Joseph and re-sign Draymond, run it all back, and be like, yeah, you lost Poole, you lost DiVincenzo, two guys who were in their prime. And you added a 38-year-old point guard and a couple of veteran minimums, and you're thinking you're going to contend for a title. I mean, that's just lunacy, right? I mean, there's no way. Now, I know it's funny, though, if you talk to Warrior fans and you broach the topic of moving off of Klay Thompson, it's like, what? You're nuts. You're crazy. We could never move off Klay. I mean, it's unbelievable how Warrior fans are just – that's a non-starter, but I don't see how they can contend without making a move, including Klay. The only thing I could see is if they traded Chris Paul. If they trade Chris Paul, yeah, then you've got a $30 million player, and who knows what you could get back, right? But if you're just going to trade Kuminga, who makes $6 million, and take back whatever you can get, or Moses Moody, who makes $3 million, take back somebody making $3 or $4 million. I don't see that impacting the Warriors that much. To me, it's you're either trading Klay or you're trading Paul, or you're going to be very disappointing this year. You're going to run it back, and you're not even. I'd challenge them to do as much or get as far as they did this year, next year, if they ran it back with old. Curry's older, Clay's older, Draymond's older. They're all one further year removed from their prime, but they're going to somehow step into this situation and make the playoffs. Doesn't seem very likely.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. Maybe if they could package, now I don't want to trade JK, but him and Chris Paul, that would get you close to the maximum. Could bring back a potential supermax player. But
who could they get? Who could they get? I mean, my whole thing is that, if you go for Karl Anthony Towns, you could get him because of the money, because Minnesota's looking to get out from underneath that money. If you go after somebody like Paul George, you might be able to get him because of the huge money that he's being paid. But I mean, you think the Warriors can get Pascal Siakam? I don't think so.
I mean, that's the guy I've been talking about all off season, but at this point, it doesn't look likely. And what I'm looking at why don't we power rank the Western Conference, right? Because obviously the Nuggets, they're up top, they're the champs. They lost the guard. Was it Brown?
Bruce Brown, yeah, he went to Indiana.
Yeah, they lost a guard. Other than that, they brought in Justin Holiday. They retained all their guys. So the Nuggets got to be at the top of the power rankings. Then I'm looking at what the Lakers and the Suns have done. I mean, let's just start off with the Lakers. I mean, D'Angelo Russell, I thought they got him back at a palatable price, 2 years, 37 mil. They bring back Hachimura, who was good for him in the playoffs. And then Austin Reeves, that might be the steal of the offseason contractually. They got him 4 years, 56 mil. That's 14 a season. I thought that was a bargain. I mean, I thought Reeves should have gotten more elsewhere, but he goes back to the Lakers. Then they bring in Gabe Vincent, who was just instrumental for the Heat to get to the finals. And then Jackson Hayes, they get a couple of flyers at the minimum in Jackson Hayes, the athletic big, and Cam Reddish. I think he's still a player with some potential, the former Duke product. So I thought the Lakers, they got better, and that's the team that defeated the Warriors, obviously. So Lakers got better, and then Phoenix, their minimum level contracts, Larry, are insane. They got Eric Gordon at the minimum, Drew Eubanks, Mitu, Josh Okogie, who was playing for him, he's back at the minimum. And then Watanabe, who was lights out, shooting it in the corner all year for Brooklyn. KD somehow gets. How does Watanabe go for the minimum? I don't get that. I mean,
and look at how many teams in the West are as good or better than Golden State. I mean, they got a bunch of teams that, are they as good as Denver? No. Are they as good as Sacramento? I would say no. Are they as good as Phoenix? Probably not. Are they as good as the Lakers? Lakers have had a really good offseason. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you're talking about probably the Warriors as, at best, there's Denver, Memphis, Sac, Phoenix, maybe both LA teams, probably in front of them. I mean, the Warriors are like a 6 seed, 7 seed. I mean, that's if they're relatively healthy. So, it's weird. It's they're the Warriors are in a weird spot right now. I know the fans don't want to move Clay, but unless Corey Joseph is an indication that they're going to somehow trade Chris Paul, you think that's possible? Somebody wants an expiring Chris Paul contract, or they've talked about Chris Paul like he's going to be on the team. So I don't know. I mean, I
don't think they can trade him right now.
They can't flip him somewhere else.
Someone might have to fact check that, but I don't believe they could just how they acquired Chris Paul, go around and flip him that immediately. I saw on Twitter. Now we know how Twitter is, but I had heard January again. I don't know how the validity to that, but they might not around the trade deadline. They might be able to ship off Chris Paul because it is an attractive expiring deal. Those expiring contracts, those can be hot commodities. So a team trying to move off a guy, you can add in some filler and go get a big boy.
Well, that's the question. What's more valuable? Is it more valuable to have Chris Paul and his expiring? Is that more valuable, or was Jordan Poole and having a player signed up, for more money than he's worth? What's the more valuable asset? And maybe the Warriors just felt like, the Paul expiring was more valuable, and there'd be more teams that would want him, especially as time goes on, over Jordan Poole, and that's why they attached a couple assets to make that trade. But either way, it's like, if you can find a team that would want Chris Paul and, his expiring deal, maybe that's why you have Corey Joseph, because now you've got Corey at point guard behind Steph, and you could move Chris Paul for a bigger player. The other thing that made me wonder is, if you're going after Eric Gordon and you didn't get him, you're going after Malik Beasley. We'll see if you get him. They went after Shake Milton. He's also a 6'5" guard. They're just going after a lot of guards. It makes you think that they may turn around and trade a guard for a big. And now I've said that I think it might be Clay, but after watching the golf the other day, it's hard to see, Steph and Draymond and Clay not together. But I don't know. to me, I think I think it's run its course, man. Cool Breeze has Beasley signed. Who did Beasley sign with?
I vaguely saw that come across my timeline. I couldn't tell you.
Let me see. Maybe it's, let me see, Malik Beasley. I'll type his name in, see who got him. I mean, you're talking about a player in Beasley who's good scorer. I would definitely be interested in Malik Beasley.
Bucks. Looks like the Bucks 5 hours ago.
Okay, the Bucks. Yep, 1 year deal. 1 year deal for Malik Beasley. They say how much?
I think it's the minimum.
Yeah, so I mean, you're going after all these two guards. It just makes you wonder: are they going to move? Are they going to move Paul? Are they going to move Clay for a big player? I don't think Clay's got tons of value, but he also isn't expiring. So they have two guys there that are expiring guys with big contracts. So if you're somebody who wants to get off the money, the Warriors are a team that can offer you that ability. We're trying to get Larry Harris on the show, and when I asked Ray Ritter about it, he said, "Hey, we can get him for you, after the draft, but you can only talk about the draft picks, or we can get him for you after June the 6th." And then he's like, and at that point, everything will have happened trade wise. So I have no idea what he's referencing there, but that right there tells me that you may see a Warrior trade of significance in the next 3 days. So anyway, that's all I can say on that. I really don't know. We got this one from Portola 45. He says, way better younger backup point guards out there than Joseph. How about Kendrick Nunn? Yeah, I agree. I'd rather have Kendrick Nunn. Val Ramos's package deal, Larry, thumbs up. Amar Singh says Warriors only have 3 guards, Steph, CP3, and Corey Joseph. Amar Singh says Joseph is better than Nunn. I don't know about that. Joseph is a better shooter. Nunn's a better athlete. Way better athlete.
I mean, Nunn's high risk, high reward. I mean, the Warriors signed him as an undrafted player, and he can put together a tantalizing highlight reel. Kendrick Nunn, he can score the rock. The guy's barely played the last couple of years. He's been really injured. So if you sign him and he's injured again and you whiff it and you're wasting another roster spot, like Corey Joseph is the safer of the two. But I would say, Nunn would have a higher potential outcome.
There you go. Hello there says can't trade Chris Paul until January. And then we have this one from the Canthal Kid. He says June 6th or July 6th. Did I say June 6th?
You did. You did.
I meant July 6th. Yeah, July 6th. So he said, hey, do you want him after July 6th when all the trades come down? And I'm like, oh, wait a second. I'll take him. I'll take him after July 6th. So it makes me think that Warriors could be doing something on their side of things. So we welcome in Dan Coccimilgio, who comes over from the NorCal Sports Network. Danny, are you operating two shows at once right now?
Well, I got Eric's running the gig over there. Romo is running it, and I told him I'll be back by 10. So just wanted to get the thing started. So a lot of people kind of upset about the way things are going right now with the Giants. So
there's a lot to talk about on both fronts, really, Giants and Warriors. We were just talking a little bit about the Summer League. I don't know if you caught any of the Summer League action.
I watched a little bit.
What did you think of Pods?
When I turned it on, I didn't see him in the game because I got kind of focused on the Giants game. He came in, I guess, in the fourth quarter. I saw him start the fourth. And then I stepped
12,
away.
6, and 6 is what his numbers were. 12.6 boards, 6 assists.
Any threes? When I saw him, he was 0 for 2.
He hit one, I think. Didn't he hit one, Baller?
Yeah, he got one.
Okay.
Very late.
So you got some garbage time stats in.
I put some stuff out on the Warriors today out on Twitter, and I'm kind of, I know there's a lot of talk about them not doing anything, and they haven't. The problem is they can only offer vet minimums, and these players are getting more. And
right.
You can't blame the players. So the Warriors are stuck just waiting because they can't offer.
Not Phoenix.
Phoenix is offering. They're offering the second year though, and the Warriors don't want to do the second year.
Well, I mean that's the Warriors' problem. You're telling me to get Eric Gordon, all you had to do was give him a second year at the minimum. Like that, that's Eric freaking Gordon.
I know.
I can tell you that's a steal at the minimum. I don't know why the second year is like the precursor to just no way we can't offer a second year. But Phoenix, I mean, Watanabe's at the minimum. I think KD somehow.
Well, Watanabe got a little bit more
there.
than the minimum. I thought he got a little bit more than the minimum.
I think it was the minimum.
I thought Phoenix was limited to minimum contracts too, but either way, I mean, Danny, I was just bringing up the fact that forget what. They supposedly went after Eric Gordon, missed. Went after Malik Beasley, didn't get him. Went after Shake Milton, didn't get him. Did sign Corey Joseph. Those guys are all 6'4" and under guards for the most part. And it makes you wonder, and I was just bringing up to Baller, are we going to see the Warriors either trade Chris Paul, who they say can't be traded until when? What did
January.
I say? January. So he's
I thought
not going
something
anywhere.
was up with August 22nd date or something, that they still could trade him before August 22nd is what somebody mentioned. I don't know if that's true or not.
I thought that was the case, but then, or is Klay Thompson going anywhere? I mean, I know nobody really wants to see that. There's a lot of talk.
I asked JD about that. I didn't hear
what
back.
Did he say?
Well, I think he took a break from free agency, he said on Twitter. I had asked him, the Lakers completely revamped their roster and now have probably the deepest, or if, maybe the top defense, depth in the NBA. And they did it by getting rid of Westbrook. All of a sudden they got rid of Westbrook, just open. So can you do the same thing with Klay's? I think Westbrook's contract was probably closer to 50 million plus, whatever his was. I can't remember, but Klay's is 43. I mean, I'm thinking you could take that 43 and turn it into 3 or 4 guys.
I was suggesting, seeing if you could attach something to it and see if you could get Siakam, Karl Anthony Towns, but then Warrior fans were just morally, opposed to even moving Klay. And it's like, I get it. I get it. You love Klay. You love the old regime that basically won you the titles. I get it. I understand that. It makes perfect sense. But it's that kind of thinking that is going to prevent you from winning another title. You have to adjust. You have to adapt. Can they go to the finish line with Steph, Klay, and Draymond and still contend for a title? I don't know, man. I love Klay Thompson. I was there when he had 37 in the quarter against the Kings. It's one of the great moments in Bay Area sports history. But I don't know. To me, if you're going to contend, I think you got to move off of Klay Thompson. I think you got to figure out a way to make a really good trade and pick up a couple assets for his expiring deal and see if you can kind of reconfigure the club that way. Otherwise, I don't see. I mean, just moving Moody at $3.9 million or moving Kuminga at $6 million, I don't see them. Even though I think teams like Kuminga, I don't think he's going to bring in the kind of player that's going to make them a title contender.
I threw out this because I'd hate to see him move off of Moody, but I think they desperately need a rim protector, a big man who could rebound, and Drummond opted in to his contract. Andre Drummond with Chicago.
I saw you suggested it was
just a straight swap, Moody for Andre Drummond. Or if you're not going to do that, they need to go out and sign maybe a Willie Cauley-Stein or a DeMarcus Cousins or somebody who can.
I know that's not a Kerr type player anymore.
Yeah, I know it's frustrating, but I don't know how.
What do you think of
Drummond led the league in
or
rebounds, didn't he last year?
Yeah. What do you think?
The first, I got a free agent list right here because right before the show I said, I have a feeling we're going to kind of look at some of these free agent options. The first one you have to call up, and now it's unlikely, but you got to call Christian Wood. Maybe the offers are just really bad, and you say, "Hey, Christian, you know what? You can."
Didn't he make like $13 million last year?
I mean, you'd figure he would get more than the minimum, but I think he has a bit of a. I think he's a head case.
What do you think of this one? Next Level says Mo Bamba is our best bet.
Mo Bamba, he's an intriguing player. He can give you some rim protection as well as stretch the floor. He does have some 3-point shooting potential, but I'd go to Christian Wood. And then I've also heard about a Kelly Oubre reunion. Now, I did not like
heard that
Kelly
too.
Oubre.
Nobody did. He shot 20% from beyond the arc.
But at the minimum, that was at the minimum.
He's
Now I
making a
would
lot.
say, hey, yeah, I would say, hey, Oubre at the minimum, yeah, come on board. So Oubre, Saric is the one. I feel like they need Saric, to be honest. Otherwise, it's a bust. And who would have thought that my hopes would be pinned to signing Dario Saric? But that's where we are. That's where we are. Matisse Thybulle's out there. He's an intriguing defender. Baisley, who's probably not a Kerr player. I don't know if he has the feel.
Next level says Sarge maybe going to Miami now.
That's what I'm saying. People were acting like it was a done deal. You can't do that because
we heard Malik Beasley signed with the Bucks.
Yeah, we were just bringing that up. I just think it's so curious that they would go after, Podziemski and then all these guards, Milton and Gordon and Beasley, and it's like, okay, but how are you? That to me, does that mean you're going to try to sign a guard and move a guard for a bigger player? Otherwise, you're awfully small. I mean, it's a really small team. Mo Bamba would be nice just because Mo Bamba can't shoot threes and protect the rim. I kind of like Kaminsky, maybe Mike Muscala. Did Muscala sign somewhere?
Yeah,
he signed.
I forget where he went. Yeah, he signed somewhere.
So there are limited options for what they can do. I mean, that's the thing. In the minimum market, people were suggesting all kinds of guys like Seth Curry. Seth Curry got $8 million a year or something.
What about Brook Lopez, right? Larry Brook Lopez.
Just all they got to do is get Brook Lopez. And it's like, wait a second, what
about Willie Hernan Gomez? He's out there. And, a little international flavor. Maybe it's a maybe.
That's not bad. Is Kaminsky still out there?
Yes.
Kaminsky knows how to play.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing about Kaminsky, he knows how to play. But to me, Mo Bamba, when you have Chris Paul, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green all on one team, and you have Mo Bamba out there, man, I would just tell him, look, all you got to do is run the floor, rebound, and we'll throw you the lob. You just rain down the lob, and because to me, it seems like if Golden State's, they've got some 3-point shooting. If you force other teams to defend the rim and your 3-point line, now you can spread the floor. Now you can stretch things out. Now you've got a chance. But they need somebody who can attack inside and make their 3-point, because you just added Podziemski. Podziemski shot 44% from beyond the arc. So he can obviously shoot it. And you've got a great passer. You added a couple real reliable passers in Joseph and Paul. Now you need somebody who can catch that lob and throw it down. The other thing that's interesting to me is that the Giants, we're coming up on the baseball. I don't know how Giant oriented you are, Baller. I know Danny and I are super into it. I don't know if you're as. I know you're in.
I'm into it.
You're into it.
Hey, especially when you're linking up with Larry. One thing I've picked up on is you got to be well versed if you're going to keep up. Yeah. So I've been locked in. Yeah. Let's talk some Giants.
Well, let's get into the Giants for a second, because one of the things that's really interesting to me on the Giant front is just that the Giants probably are going to have to make some trades this month as well. One of the deals I saw and I wanted to float by Danny was the Yankees, with the injuries they've had in the middle of their lineup. There's a lot of people saying the Yankees are going to come calling for Jock Peterson. And the Yankees have two guys that I think the Giants would want. One is Estevan Florial, who's a young, fast outfielder who can play center field, and he's definitely a good outfielder. Struggled to hit as a young player, but this guy can really, he's got great potential. And then there was a pitcher as well that the Yankees were rumored. It was a Bleacher Report trade of the Yankees moving this right-handed pitcher to the Giants for Jock Peterson. And, a lot of people think that the Yankees may go after Jock Peterson. They may go after Cody Bellinger. But I forget the right-handed pitcher's name. But it was a good, I watched him. I YouTubed him to look at his stuff, and the guy's got good stuff, really good stuff. And it was him and Florial for Jock Peterson. I'd make that deal. We talked before about Joey Bart to the Marlins, maybe, and a deal for Jazz Chisholm, especially with the injury.
Chisholm's done. He just did an oblique a day or two ago that looked.
Did he really?
Yeah, it looked
He just
pretty
came
severe
back
too.
from an
He had
injury.
turf toe.
Yeah.
No, he had turf toe.
Yeah, and then he swung really hard and he grimaced like crazy and had to be taken away.
Oh, okay. So then maybe that
so he's
deal's
gone for at least a month.
Then you get the Diamondbacks who are looking to add starting pitching. I mean,
20 teams are looking for starting pitching, so you're going to have to give up a ton, and I'm not willing to do that. If I'm not giving up like top prospects like Harrison or Wisenhunt.
No, but what about Luciano?
If it's a guy that's under control for more than a year,
would you take Cease? And
not straight up? I'd want more.
Yeah, I would want more too. They're talking about, hey, people were floating Luis Robert. Is Luis Robert going to get moved?
He could, and
oh my God, that's
I like him. I was suggesting a trade about 3 weeks ago for Luis Robert before Matos kind of hit the scene. But Luis Robert he's got power. He's close to 20 bombs, or he might even be at 20 bombs already this year. He's a guy that can, go out there and play. I'm just,
what are you thinking Farhan's going to do? I mean, there's a lot of speculation. I wouldn't have no problem if the Giants did a combo, buy a little, sell a little. Sell a Jock Peterson, maybe sell a pitcher that somebody wants, but then buy some players with some of the prospect capital you have.
I don't want to trade Jock. Can I jump in? I don't want to trade Jock.
I love Jock too, but
the thing that's going for the Giants, or when they were going well, is the depth. 1 through 9, they were swinging the bat. There were no easy outs in that lineup when they were playing that good brand of baseball. And Jock, the guy's got one of the highest OPSs on the team. Not to mention he was my former teammate. Yeah, he caught me. He was a left-handed catcher when he was 10 years old. So I might be a little biased there. But Jock's a good player. He's got 30 RBIs on the season. I know he was banged up for a little bit. I'm only trading Jock if you're overwhelming me with some top prospect. Like, I'm not looking. The Giants have been so banged up. Every game, it feels like somebody's dropping. Now Tyro Estrada's got a fractured hand.
I saw that. Tyro on the 10-day injured list, fractured left hand. DeSclafani's on the 15-day injured list with shoulder fatigue. Yaz was activated from his IL stint. Brent Wisely was recalled from AAA. The Estrada one is bad. He got hit in the hand by an Adam Ottavino pitch Sunday against the Mets, played out the rest of the game, but I guess he fractured his hand on the play, which shows you how tough he is. And then you got Casey Schmidt's not hitting. I mean, the Giants are in an interesting situation, Dan. I mean, what do you guys, what's the speculation? What are you thinking? Ned said that the Dodgers would have a 5-game lead on the Giants at the All-Star break. They're a game and a half up on the Giants right now. We're not at the break just yet. What do you think? Giants are 46-39, 4 games behind Arizona. What's your guess of how Farhan's going to handle July?
Well, a lot of it depends on how they're doing. I think he should have pulled the trigger already instead of don't wait until the deadline when everything gets jumbled up. The best GMs move quickly, and you saw Texas already move and get Aroldis Chapman.
And I wanted that.
That's who I was, calling for. I thought he'd be great set up for Duvall or vice versa. Can flip him at times. Just having that 1-2 punch combo that's at the end of a game shortens the game. I just think Farhan, if he gets too, tepid and waits, he's, his big move, even when he got Chris Bryant, was 1 minute before the deadline. It's like he waits and waits, and everybody, it's kind of like all the good pickings are gone. So I just think that the Giants are in a situation they got to get healthy. They got to stay in this. They have the depth to continue, but this homestand, I said they got to go at least 4-2 on this homestand and finish 10. I mean, they got the Colorado Rockies for 3 at the weekend. Okay, they should be able to win 2 out of 3, or if not sweep. And ideally, you win this series, come back, win the next 2, but you can go into the break 10 over 500, and then you kind of reassess. Okay, we've got 2.5 weeks before the trade deadline, and we're 50-40, and we're sitting in a good position. Now we can figure out where health-wise we're going to be, and then start making some moves. But I'm not a guy, I want to see him win it, but I'm not a guy that's willing to say, okay, I'm giving up 3 of my top prospects to go get, I'm not giving up, for example, I'm not giving up Harrison and Luciano and Carson Wisenhunt for Corbin Burns, even though he would be great. I'm not going to
do you think the Brewers would even entertain moving Corbin Burns at this juncture?
Probably not, but they'd have to get blown away. And I just hope Farhan doesn't get in his mind that, like, oh, I got to do something because I said I'm going to be aggressive and we're going to make the playoffs, do whatever I can to make the playoffs. Yet don't make the playoffs with the intent of blowing up your future. You're starting to see these young guys, come up and develop. And yeah, they're going to be ups and downs. I don't expect Patrick Bailey probably to even finish above 275 for the year. I think he'll come back to earth. But still, I'm happy if Patrick Bailey gives me 250 to 260 and plays the defense he plays. But Casey Schmidt, he's come back to earth. He'll figure it out. He's an athlete. You can see it. He'll figure it out. Matos, he's a guy that's 21. These guys are starting to move and gel, and they're going to have some ups and downs, but they've got the nucleus with the veterans if they can just keep them off the IL to stay in the thing for the whole year. So they do need another pitcher. They need another pitcher.
Yeah, they need another pitcher. I don't see them making a move for a hitter. I don't think they're going to – I do think they're going to bring in a pitcher, and I'm privy to some of the names out there. I'll bounce them off you guys. Shane Bieber's been talked about with the Indians, but I think he's kind of on a decline. He was more dominant a couple years ago. So, yeah. I believe he's on the last year of his deal.
A lot of talk to Arizona's going hard after him.
Marcus Stroman with the Cubs.
He's definitely available.
And he's decent. Like that move makes sense. Another name that I haven't heard being floated around, but it makes sense. I got him on my fantasy baseball team. He hasn't been good. Again, I'm going back to Chicago. That is the White Sox. Hasn't been good this year, but that means you can probably buy him extremely low, and that's Lance Lynn.
Right. I mean, I'd rather have Giolito. He's a free agent at the end of the year.
You might have to pay to get. You might have to outbid somebody to get Giolito, though. Lance Lynn, you might be able to get for.
Well, here's my thing. I'm okay with moving 1 or 2 big name guys if you can get a nice package coming back. For me, if you can get one of those White Sox starters and Andrew Vaughn, I'm willing to move a big time guy like Marco Luciano. The Cardinals are another team. Dylan Carlson's from Elk Grove. He would be a nice Giant. They've got some pitching as well. They also have some infielders that have some interest. That the Cardinals might be a match. Heck, I mean, I like some of the guys Arizona has. I like Pavin Smith and Jake McCarthy, and I like that kid Ryan Nelson who pitched against the Giants last week.
I like Jim Montgomery with the Cardinals too.
Like Montgomery?
Yeah, the lefty. I'd take Jordan.
He would be really good.
Yeah. I mean, there's also talk the Cardinals may move Goldschmidt. I mean, God knows Goldschmidt hits well in their ballpark. I don't know if they need him, but there's as far as a match goes, are the Mets going to move Scherzer? Would you be interested in taking on that money? I mean, the Giants did offer an awful lot of money to Correa and didn't land him. Then the other big one is, are the Padres going to pivot off of Soto? Would you go with Danny? Would you make a big play for Soto? You get him for the rest of this year and all of next year, and
depends on what you got to give up. If you got to give up too much, Soto could walk, and then you end up depleting your system, which they've been waiting for guys to come up, and they're finally starting to see some, to me, the Giants are kind of where they were in about 2008, 2009. I think they're on the cusp of being a really competitive team for 5 to 10 years if they can keep these young guys and keep developing them. It depends on what is behind this, the name guys. If they really think some of these other guys are going to develop, maybe you can get rid of some of those guys. But what I think it's such a long season. They're still what?
They're about halfway. I mean, they're literally we're
still
literally
80
like
games.
right across the halfway mark
Yeah.
after the Toronto series.
Yeah, and they're pretty much in a wild card position right now if the playoffs were to start today. So get healthy. Estrada will be back. Conforto will be 100% soon. Yaz hopefully will be, and then you get those guys coming up. I think Kyle Harrison's going to be a factor down the stretch. I think they're going to bring him up at some point. There's a starter that you have that you don't need to go out and trade for.
Harrison, how many times has he gone over 4 innings this year?
Well,
I checked out his minor league stats. He's got some accuracy stuff going on.
Yeah, he's got. Well, one of the problems is though,
he
Eric,
walks about a guy almost an inning, or at least one every 2 innings. He's got to hone in on the accuracy. I know he's got legit stuff. I know he's throwing 96 from the left side with a wipeout slide piece. I got some concerns though. I got to be honest. I think he's a little wild. I say trade the prospects. That's my philosophy. I don't want rentals. I don't want 1-year rentals, but to go and get a big boy, Juan Soto, I'm surprised. I just looked it up. He is on the last year of his deal. But, I mean, I say trade the farm. If you're getting a proven horse, you're getting a stud under control, you go and get that proven player.
I hear you, and I'm generally that way as well because the farm does not always – these guys don't always pan out. History tells us they don't. But in the case of Harrison, what's happening up there is they got the automated strike zone that if it's just a hair above the box, what we see on TV, I mean, their imaginary box that they're using the robocalls for, he's not getting those. In the big leagues, he's going to get a pretty good percentage of those because you see how many calls that are just out of the zone that get called strikes all the time. So he's facing that. That's part of the issue. The other issue why he's only going 4 innings is they're limiting him to about 80 pitches an outing. They're trying to preserve his arm so that they don't wear him out and that he's available to the big club, for August and September. I think that's the plan. And I think you'll see him come up in August and be on the roster for less than 60 days. And I think they're manipulating the darn thing as well, because if he's not on the roster for 60 full days, they can start him next year on the roster and they get this bonus or so-called draft
they love
pick.
Playing that game. You hold out the prospect as long as you can to get another year of control.
Yeah. So I don't particularly like that. We saw that
he's going to start in the futures, or he's going. Not know if he's going to start, but he's going to pitch in the futures game for the second year in a row. That's something you don't see that often, huh? You don't see guys in that futures game 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
I don't know if that means they're showcasing him for deals, or if he's on the verge of the big leagues. But that's the thing. I mean, do the Giants badly need starting pitching, and they have 2 big time starters who lots of teams would just promote and just kind of roll with, and then just live with the bumps and the bruises. I don't know. Are they, and how, I guess I'd love to know from the Giants, how far away did they see Harrison and Wisenhunt from being? Because when I asked Farhan about it a couple of weeks ago, he's like, "Hey, man, once you're in Double-A, as far as I'm concerned, you're a phone call away." So Double-A is kind of like, hey, if you're doing well in Double-A, that they could use you anytime. They could use you. They could call you.
Well, the kid in Double-A that's tearing it up right now is Mason Black. He has pitched 22 consecutive scoreless innings. Just the other day, he pitched 5 perfect innings. And he only threw 62 pitches and they took him out. So I don't know what the philosophy is of the organization. It sounds like to me, they don't want to wear these young guys' arms out. And I mean, if you're taking a guy out after 62 pitches with a perfect game, you think he could go 80, right? At least. So
I mean, I was throwing 100 in high school, Dan. So I mean,
Yeah.
they have their ways of calculating it, but
I don't get it.
Isn't that wait,
I'm old
Danny? There's
school.
another pitcher the Giants have that just got promoted. What's his name?
Kai Wei Ting or
No. I want to let me see. I just saw him. He just got promoted to Double A, but he was blowing people away in the minor leagues.
was it Birdsong or
No. Let me go. Let me look it up here. SF Giants prospects. It was a power pitcher. Guys throwing mid-90s. They just called him up from A ball to Triple A or to Double A.
Let me check the roster here. I'll tell you who it might
And
be.
I heard great things about the guy. You mentioned Mason Black, but that's not it. It was
Landon Roop's up there. Their pitchers.
Wade Meckler's doing well too. He's another guy
Mhm.
who's doing well. No, where did I just saw this the other day. They promoted this guy from Double A or from A ball to Double A, but he was just absolutely dominating.
Wasn't Matt Frisbee, was it? No.
No.
Hmm.
You didn't see that?
I saw Carson Seymour, Streifler. I don't know who I'm looking at their roster right now. Spencer Bivens.
He was a non-roster guy.
Yeah.
And they just called him up and they said that he was overpowering in the minor leagues. And so they called him up to Double A.
Interesting.
But,
I think the Giants are, the biggest problem that they have had so far is they swing at a lot of pitches out of the zone and strike out, dozen times a game. And that kind of during their win streak, they kind of got away from that. They started striking out less. Now they're striking out again over 10 times a game. And it's coincided with, last winning 2 of their last 7 games. So
who's really hitting the ball hard? I mean, just Sable.
Pretty much Sable. Wade makes some pretty good contact. JD Davis makes loud contact when he does. That's really been about it. Conforto.
How about a guy named Patrick Bailey?
Oh yeah, Bailey's definitely.
Patrick Bailey's been freaking lights out. I mean, I'm having flashbacks. How blessed are we? We go from Buster Posey to Patrick Bailey. The guy looks like he's going to win a Gold Glove. I mean, he's just outstanding. He's so quick behind the dish. The way
is he better offensively or defensively? Because I love the way he frames and I love the way he throws.
They're all top notch. It's really outstanding. I mean, Patrick Bailey it's been incredible what he's done early on in his Giants career. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens here this month, because definitely things are going to change. I love Jock for the fact that he's got playoff experience. He's only missed the playoffs 1 year, and that was last year in his entire career in the big leagues. So he's got playoff pedigree, and he's not named Jocktober for nothing. So hopefully if they keep him, that, they're going to be in the playoffs and he does something that stands out. But if they're able to get something good, because for Jock, a really top prospect or a pitcher that's going to help you now, I might do that because he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. And you got Blake Sable that can step in and be your DH. So
here I found it. His name's Ben Madison. Giants promote electric pitching prospect to Double A. Ben Madison. He had spent all season with High A Eugene. He's not a well-known name to Giants fans because injuries have slowed his development, but he's a 25-year-old native of Benton, Arkansas. And he's a fastball slider guy. Over his last 16 appearances with Eugene, the guy's got 44 strikeouts and 7 walks in 27 and a third, with a 0.99 ERA. Giants drafted him in the 9th round of 2018 draft out of Central Baptist College in Conway, Arkansas. He'd been a multi-sports star in high school, baseball, basketball, football, track. Dominated the NAIA, striking out 172 and 96 2/3 for Central Baptist. So they drafted him. They want to develop him as a starter. But then when Farhan and the guys started looking at him, they said, you know what? He's more of a reliever. So anyway, when the guy's been healthy in his pro career, he's been really, really good. He's got a fastball that consistently sits mid-90s, but his breaking ball is by far his best pitch. They say he's got one of the most devastating sliders in the entire Giants farm system. He's a traditional 2-pitch power guy. So they're saying, if he's going to reach the bigs, he'll probably be as a reliever, and maybe this year.
Has to be 2 pitches. Yeah.
Well, the Giants, I guess, have to have a decision to make because he's eligible to be selected in this year's Rule 5 draft. And so Farhan, they're promoting him through the minor leagues with the idea that maybe they can take a look at him at some point.
Interesting.
But that's a name. That's a name to remember.
Yeah. Well,
Ben
hey,
Madison.
I'm going to step out here and get back to my channel, and you guys are welcome if you both want to come over when you finish up.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'll send you guys the link, or Larry, I'll send it to you. You send it to Baller. Eric, you're welcome to come on. If we're just going to be talking mostly Giants, so
sounds good. We'll see you over there.
Okay, thanks, guys.
All right, Dan Coccimilgio from the NorCal Sports Network channel. Danny's getting it rolling. Cool Breeze says Estrada's out 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, the Giants are in kind of a weird spot because in a way they need to, they need to like get in the playoffs and kind of excite their fan base. But on the other hand, it's like if you don't want to necessarily shortchange your rebuild by trading prospects for, fool's gold. I mean, what if you trade somebody of significance and you don't make the playoffs, or you make it to the playoffs and you're like one and done and you're out of there quick, and now you've lost?
I'm having flashbacks of Zach Wheeler just being shipped off for Carlos Beltran. I mean, yeah, absolutely. You don't want, because those are devastating moves. I mean, Zach Wheeler is an ace, right? How about you can go even further back? Giants traded away Francisco Liriano, the lefty, for a catcher, if I'm not mistaken, we know him as Pierzynski.
That's right, AJ Pierzynski. Yeah. So you just got to make sure that if you do pull the trigger on a big time trade, that at least it's somebody that you have control over for a couple of years. So at least.
And what I don't want to do, Larry,
to compete this year and next year.
What I do not want to do is I don't want to make any move that's going to decrease any potential chance we have of going after Shohei Ohtani.
You saw that report?
I saw John Heyman's report, but Shohei Ohtani, that's a guy who we know the Giants whiffed on Arson Judge last offseason. But Shohei, the dude, he's an ace. He's the best hitter in Major League Baseball. You got to go after him. That's the type of player. And it feels like the Giants, if they want to have a legitimate chance at potentially getting him, they got to show something this year. He's not going to want to come to a loser. So That's why I'm feeling like, man, Giants, let's get into the playoffs. Let's have a good showing. The Giants, we won those championships, Larry, 10, 12, and 14. Giants didn't have the best roster in baseball. They didn't. Okay. Then they don't have the best roster now. I do like when everyone's healthy. Now they're getting banged up left and right. But when we were healthy, 1 through 9, it was the depth of that order that I loved so much. I felt like if you did add a starting pitcher, maybe you could contend. Because I watched them do it in 10, 12, and 14. They didn't have – I think they're a pitcher away, but the lineup. But I want Shohei. Go get me Shohei.
What do you okay, this is what I would say about Shohei. You can't do this to your fans again. You can't So if you're absolutely, heart is set on getting not just Shohei, but Shohei at a good deal, then just don't. Just quit, because you're not going to get a good deal. Okay, that's one. Two, you can't do this to your fans. You can't. We're going after Judge, and we're going after Correa, and we're going after Harper, and we're going after Stanton, and you know what I mean? Eventually, you just look like a bridesmaid, and you look like you're not really interested. I would say this: if you really want Ohtani, the bidding starts at 10 years, 500 million, right? If you're not willing to go 10 years, 500 million, don't even bother. But to me, I think it's more like 10 years, 750 million. It's like that's the range. If you're going over 75 million a year for Shohei, it's probably bad business, and it's probably not the best way to go. But to me, if you're going, $600 million, $60 million a year for 10 years, I think he's the kind of guy that pays for himself. I think he puts butts in the seats. I think you're selling Shohei jerseys, Shohei everything, merchandising's through the roof. I think 60 million a year for that guy for 10 years. It sounds crazy, and it is, but you know what? I think he would pay for himself. And I think it's going to take that kind of an offer to actually land him over the Dodgers and staying with the Angels. I mean, he's living in Southern Cal. He's now going to leave Southern Cal and move up here to San Francisco, California, in its current state. I don't know. It doesn't seem likely to me.
You know what? I'm looking at it, Larry. 70 million a year seems, you could argue that's a steal. I could make that argument that that's a bargain, because you are getting one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, as well as one of the best hitters. I pulled up the salaries just on a per year basis. Like this year, Max Scherzer is making the most amount of money in baseball, 43 million he's making. Aaron Judge is the highest paid hitter at 40 mil. So if you combined the best pitcher and the best hitter, that's 80 mil, for 1 year. So that's where I'm making the argument where, hey, 70 mil, that could be a potential steal. And you'll look later on down the road, you sign him now. As we know, contracts are only going to go where? They're going to go north. So I'm all for it. 70 mil, hey, it's not my money, but if that's what it takes to get Shohei here, let's make it happen.
Yeah, I would do it too. I mean, and not only that, I think he's the right guy at the right time. Okay, so is it going to be a good deal? It's likely not going to be a very good deal. That's what history tells us. But your farm system is producing. You haven't been to the playoffs for a while. You need some momentum. You have a ballpark that's paid for. So you're minting money. You're not even paying a mortgage on Oracle Park. So every dollar you make at that park is pure profit. You're uniquely positioned wealth-wise to make this kind of an investment at this point in time. And since they have a bunch of prospects coming out of their farm system, you can surround him with a competitive team and still pay him, as we said, between $60 and $75 million a year by himself. So I would do it too. I think he's the right player at the right time. He's got a great attitude. I think he'd be really happy here, as far as living in the Bay Area and playing at this ballpark, and potentially they could surround him with enough to win. I mean, he hasn't won in Arizona. He hasn't won with the Angels. He's been on a team. They don't win there. I mean, they just don't win. The Giants, and also you'd have the advantage of keeping him away from the Dodgers, because the Dodgers badly want him. So there's that as well. I mean, it's to me, this is the right guy at the right time, and I don't think you can make a bad deal unless you get north of, you're getting close to $1 billion deal. That's probably crazy, and I don't think I'm going there. But I do it for 10 years. I don't know that I want to sign anybody beyond 10 years. By the way, But I'd go 10 years, 75
He's
million.
no spring chicken. He's no like he came over.
How old
He
is
came
he?
over a little later than. Yeah, let me pull that up.
Let me see exactly how old he is. He's just such an incredible talent.
He's 28.
He's 28. So you get 29
28.
to 39.
Yeah,
You're basically buying his entire 30s.
I'm all for it. I'm not trying to talk you out of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just a matter of, what's a good price, what's not a good price. But that would be the guy. He can start for you. He can hit in the middle of your lineup. He's a major gate attraction. His popularity transcends baseball, and he's one of the most special players that's ever put on a uniform. So he's an unprecedented player. It's going to take an unprecedented price tag to land him. No question about it.
His swing is so sweet. His stroke is just
powerful.
so smooth. Now, can you imagine how many splash hits? There'd be so many people out there in McCovey Cove on their boats trying to paddle around, trying to get to these home run balls. Oh, man. Make it happen, please.
Clarence Beeks says, here's $2. Trade Steph and get Quinones some help. There you go. That made us laugh. But isn't it interesting how both the Giants and the Warriors are in a spot where, it's like it's going to take some maneuvering. It's like, I mean, do you like Mike Dunleavy as a general manager? Well, I don't know. We'll see what it looks like on opening night. So far, I don't love some of the moves. I mean, what you got older and more brittle going from Poole to Chris Paul, but you improved your chemistry and you improved your owner's bottom line. So you saved your owner some money, but did you become more of a winner? I don't think so. Did you become more of a title contender? I don't think so. So it's just kind of they're in a spot where their chemistry is going to be better and Joe Lacup's going to have a better bottom line, but are they really any closer to winning a ring? Probably not. And then on the Giant front, it's like you finally have all these prospects coming out of your minor league system. And if you stay with it and show some patience, you're probably going to be a contending team for the next few years. But, if you don't make a move here, you may not make the playoffs, because the one thing about the Giants this year is that they started Ryan Walker like 4 out of 8 games a couple weeks ago. The bullpen games, I think they're like 8-4, 8-3 in those bullpen games.
Yeah, they're working.
It's working, but I mean, it seems like it's got a shelf life.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels unsustainable. Like,
right.
Can you do that in the playoffs? I mean, have they went with openers in the playoffs? It's not normal.
No, nobody wins with openers in the playoffs. By the time you get to the playoffs, it's all about who's your starter.
You need three guys you can go to, and that you're starting your ace on short rest. That's just how it rolls. But you need 3 guys right now. The Giants, Logan Webb, he's one of those guys.
Yeah.
Okay, we saw
he's giving them innings.
He was phenomenal tonight, despite the loss. Now, who's the second guy? I mean, Alex Cobb. I feel like when he's right, I kind of like Cobb, but he would probably be more of a third guy. Feels like they're missing an ace, or they're missing that number 2, if you want to call Logan Webb the ace. Like they're missing a premier starting pitcher if they wanted to like contend for a championship this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like it's like they're ahead of their schedule, but are they going to be able to get to the postseason without making a move? And then do they have the right, can they make moves? I mean, last year Farhan made some good moves, moving Darren Ruff, and you got JD Davis and some nice arms, but he's going to have to pull a Houdini act to get them into the playoffs this year. So they're, all these teams are in kind of weird spots. And then, I did a little live stream earlier today, a video on my channel about the Niners. There was a great article out about the veteran players around the NFL who look like they could be cut this summer. And there were some good names on this list, and I threw them out to Niner fans. I'll throw them to you. The Niner, by the way, they said that out of the blue could get cut as Ambry Thomas. That Ambry Thomas, only played 41 snaps last year. He was a 5-game starter the year before that.
He can go. Ambry Thomas can go. I like Darrell Luter, the guy who they brought in, Samuel Womack. Those are players I think
Deshaun Jameson.
Yeah. Deshaun, is that the Texas kid?
Yeah, the Texas kid. I like him too.
And he brings some return ability, right?
He's a great return man. So, but then like the Niners, let me throw some of these names your way and tell me if you're intrigued by any of these guys. Because some of these guys, I understand why they're available, but we'll finish on this note. Chase Claypool. What do you think of Chase Claypool, the Steelers wide receiver? He's now he was a Steeler. Now he's a Bear. He got traded for too much. Bears traded a 2nd-round pick. A lot of people are saying he's not very serious about football and so on and so forth. But man, Claypool is a major talent. I loved him at Notre Dame. To me, if you could get Chase Claypool for a day 3 pick, I would take my chances with Chase Claypool. I know the Niners already have a lot of receivers, but you can always use a big receiver who's damn good. And I think, Longy running back ER or Longy R8er says Claypool is lazy. Yeah, supposedly he doesn't work that hard, but I don't know. That he's intriguing to me. The other guys,
put him on the end arounds. He's exactly what Kyle Shanahan wanted Jalen Hurd to be.
Right.
Chase Claypool, he's so good with the ball in his hands. He runs with such physicality. I think he's more talented than Jawan Jennings, but maybe Jawan is a little bit better of a route runner. I know they like going to Jawan in man-to-man coverage, but a day 3 pick, Chase Claypool, sign me up. The Bears just traded a 2nd-round pick to go get him. They traded a 2.
And he didn't do anything there. He got 14 catches for 140 yards and 0 touchdowns in 7 games. But, the quarterback there is a developmental guy, and their offense isn't that good. You put Claypool on the Niners next to Debo and Ayuk and all these guys, I think he'd be much better. KJ Hamler, Denver, he's coming off an ACL. This one's kind of interesting. La'el Collins, the offensive tackle for Cincinnati. If you don't believe in McKivitz or have your doubts about McKivitz, Collins is getting his job taken away by Jonah Williams, who moves from left tackle to right tackle. I'd take La'el Collins, who's a big physical run blocker, played with Dallas. I like La'el Collins. I would take him. Especially since they don't really have a 3rd tackle. I like that one.
Yeah, La'el Collins. Yeah, he was good with the Cowboys. He wasn't very good last season in terms of pass blocking. I know this, depends on what you think of PFF, but they gave him a really low pass blocking grade. That being said, La'el Collins, Colton McKivitz, I would side with La'el Collins. That being said, I know you feel the same way. If you're going to make a move, you're going to make a signing, why aren't we looking at edge? I want to add opposite Bosa, and the names. I've heard you talk about them.
Well, Justin Houston, Melvin Ingram, there's a number of guys, Jason Pierre-Paul. There's a couple edge rushers here they're saying are going to get cut. One would be Derek Barnett of the Eagles. He makes sense. The other one is...
I'm not a big Barnett guy.
Well, and he's coming
solid.
off...
He's solid.
He tore his ACL last year, too, in week 2, and I didn't play the rest of the year. But you've got him out there. You also have the Atlanta edge rusher from Notre Dame, Atakundo Ogundeji, who played at Notre Dame. He was a 5th-round pick in 2001. He played pretty well, and they added a lot of D linemen. They added Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, Zach Harrison in the draft. They've already got Lorenzo Carter, Arnold Ebiketie, D'Angelo Malone. Ogundeji may just not be make the roster. He's interesting. The other guy that's kind of interesting, they're saying Seattle may cut Alton Robinson, who's pretty good player at Syracuse. He had 4 sacks and 22 tackles in 2020, and then has had some injuries in his own right.
I want to talk about a player that is actually on the Niners roster currently at the defensive end position. During OTAs, I'm listening to what you guys say. You are my eyes out there, and didn't sound like you were too fond of him, but I'm talking about Austin Bryant. I heard you describe him as kind of He looked kind of skinny, at least in the lower half.
Yeah.
I went back and I watched the limited tape because he was injury plagued in his tenure with the Detroit Lions. But I watched as much film as I could find on him. And he had a nice sack against Russell Wilson where he does show off his acceleration, his bend. He kind of dipped down underneath the tackle's block. He's got some moves, Larry. Austin Bryant, that's kind of, if someone were to ask me, like, who's your dark horse sleeper at to be that pass rusher opposite Bosa, I'm looking at Austin Bryant. And Larry, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but a couple years ago, when the Niners signed Arden Key, I went in and I started watching some tape on him. He was with Oakland, and I came back and I said, wow, he didn't have a ton of sacks, but Arden Key was so darn close to having so many sacks. He was wrecking havoc in the backfield. And I made a bold proclamation. I did it with your boy Grant. And I told Grant, I said, Arden Key is going to be second on the team in sacks. And I said that before the season started. And it came to fruition. So that's one thing I've kind of hung my hat on, is trying to find who's that sleeper pass rusher who's going to break out. Austin Bryant, because Cleveland Farrell, he's not a pass rusher. The
only thing is Austin Bryant's played in let's see, what's he played in? He's played in 33 NFL games, and he has 4.5 career sacks, and they were all in 2021 for Detroit. Last year he played 9 games and he had no sacks.
Yeah.
So, and that's, to me,
that's what I want to add. I want to add too.
And no forced fumbles, 4.5 sacks, no forced fumbles. So he is a little lean in the lower body. He's 6'5", but he's only about 250 pounds.
But he's only playing pass rushing downs, Larry. I'm only bringing him in third and long, second and long. Like I don't have him in on a base down. That's when you're putting in Farrell, you're putting in Hyder, Drake Jackson, we'll see. But Austin Bryant, I think because the Niners, they don't have that true Leo. Like, remember, they went out, they got D Ford. They wanted the speed rusher. I want to get back to that. Like, Beal, I don't think Beal is that guy. He couldn't get on the field at Georgia last year.
Yeah, I mean, I the only thing about Beal is Beal does have long arms and 4.4 speed, so it's like I'm really eager to see what he looks like this summer. But you're right. He only played in a limited snap role for the Dogs, and it's like, what's he going to do now? They're just in a weird spot because they've got, they need Drake Jackson to not just play, but they need him to play very well and play like a ton of snaps. So if they still want to use their rotation, I mean, I'll tell you, the guy that I'd be all over would be Montez Sweat. I would try to get Montez Sweat, and I would offer whatever picks I needed to move to get him. Because if you add a guy like Sweat, who's in his prime, opposite Bosa, now you've got a line that has 4 guys that you really can't double. And now everybody's getting singular blocks, and everybody's going one-on-one. And to me, if you don't get somebody better, nothing against Drake, but I just think he needs, they like to rotate their guys in. I don't think Drake can play every down. And I think he'll be less effective if he's forced to. So personally, I would just love to see them get one more guy who, otherwise, if you don't get a big time guy, I think there's a real likelihood that Bosa gets chipped a lot, that he gets doubled a lot, that they slide the coverage to him all the time, and he may get nicked up. So it's like, if you really want to protect your investment and you're going to give Bosa $300 million or $30 million a year, I should say, if you're going to give him $30 million a year, to me, it doesn't make sense to have no depth opposite him, because now you're just neutralizing him by the fact that, let's just say Bosa has one hamstring pull. Okay, now it's and Drake has taking a breather. All right, you could be in the second half of games that you need to win in September, and you're rushing the passer with Kerry Hyder and Austin Bryant. And it's like, really? You're a Super Bowl contender rushing the passer with those guys? So, every roster is going to have some weakness. and you're not going to have, be totally infallible across the board. But it would be nice if they had one more dependable edge rusher. And maybe Beal's that guy, and maybe Cleveland Farrell's that guy. Maybe Austin Bryant's that guy. Heck, you know what? I would not be shocked if Spencer Wagee winds up being a contributor at defensive end, just because he's got such good motor and such good hand placement. And to me, he looks more like an end than a tackle.
Definitely. Yeah, Spencer Wagee. Yeah, I got acclimated with the North Dakota State product. I put out a little video on him. If you want to see what Spencer Wagee can do, I got his highlights up on my channel. He dominated the game I watched. Spencer Wagee, that right tackle, could not block him. He lived in that backfield. So yeah, I'm monitoring Spencer Wagee.
He looks really good.
Absolutely. I saw some chatter in the chat about the Kings, and maybe we'll get out of here on this one. But the Kings, they brought over a forward from Olympiacos, Sasha Vezenkov. This dude's big time. I keep my tabs on the Euro League, right? The Euro League, in my opinion, it's the second best basketball league in the world. And Sasha, he was up there in terms of leading the Euro League in points per game. He averaged 17.6.
He was the Euro League MVP, and they've been talking about him all off season. Sasha Vezenkov.
Yeah, he's big time, and he rebounds the ball too. He's getting you 7 boards a game, which again in the Euro League, the numbers they don't pop out as much at you as they do in the NBA. The games are shorter, the pace is a little bit slower, but he was absolutely phenomenal. Sasha's going to be a big time acquisition for Sacramento. And just looking at the other moves the Kings have made, they kept Trey Lyles and Alex Len on good deals, and then they traded and got Chris Duarte, who
I love. Yeah, that's a nice pickup too. Yeah, that's very much under the radar kind of a move for Sacramento getting Duarte.
Yeah,
they're Sacramento's. I thought. I was surprised on the Rashawn Holmes, Omax Prosper, swap, and they moved those guys. But they obviously wanted to use some of that money on other guys. But yeah, they re-signed Barnes. You've got Keegan. They got a nice deal done with Sabonis. They brought back Lyles. Now they've got Vezenkov. They still have Kessler Edwards, Davion Mitchell. Keita, the big man who's playing in the summer league game tonight, Malik Monk. They get some nice pieces for sure. Sacramento is, they're going to be a tough team. I think they're going to be a hard team for Golden State to beat out, to be honest, just because they're younger, they're fresher, they're an ascending team. You know what I mean? It seems like it's going to be difficult for Golden State to beat them out in the regular season. But we'll see.
Jonathan Kuminga, Larry, I put out a tweet. Jonathan Kuminga's, if the Warriors are going to somehow vault themselves into championship contention, I know you're a bit reluctant right now. The moves aren't overwhelming me either. If you do get a Saric, I'm not counting out this Dubs team. I think they got a puncher's chance to beat any team in the league in a 7-game series. That being said, I got to be honest, and there are 3 or 4 teams I look at the Western Conference that I think have a better chance of coming out of the West than the Warriors. So they're going to have to make some moves. We'll see what we have. The last thing I'll touch on, I want to put you up on game. Oklahoma City Thunder, they finally got my boy, who I think I've mentioned a couple times, Vasilija Micic, who is the former EuroLeague MVP. We're going back to the EuroLeague, Larry. I don't know. We're talking Euro today.
Well, and they also got Chet Holmgren back too, right?
And they got Chet Holmgren, but they're getting Micic. Finally, he's coming overseas. This guy, he's 29, 30 years old. He's been dominating the EuroLeague, won multiple championships, MVPs, finals MVPs, and he's finally making the leap to come to the USA. I was trying to tell Bob Myers, go out and trade for his draft rights for the last couple of years because I know how good he is. So Oklahoma
He's a
City,
shooter.
He's a combo guard. Yeah, he can shoot it. Absolutely. He can shoot it. He can facilitate it. It's in a similar mold to a Goran Dragic, something similar to that. He's right-handed, but he's really crafty. he can finish at the rim. He can play make. He can shoot it. So he's a good basketball player. So I'm looking. A couple of the best players in the EuroLeague are coming over in Vezenkov with the Kings and Vasilija Micic with the Thunder.
Okay, I'll keep my eyes on both those guys.
Yeah.
Baller, what do you got cooking on the 4th?
We're going to the in-laws, because they go balls out 4th of July. They're setting off everything. That block is nuts, out there.
Where do you guys go?
It's over by Hayward. It's like on the border of Hayward. Yeah, right on the Hayward border. So, yeah, we'll be out there and looking forward to it. Man, everyone have a good 4th and a safe 4th.
Yeah, exactly. Be careful. Be careful. Brian Iglesias, 95.7. Brian says, what do y'all think of a Kelly Oubre Jr. reunion on a veteran minimum? He averaged 20 points a game last year for Charlotte, but he could help with depth and athleticism on the wing. Maybe a nice comeback story. I was kind of hoping that the Warriors, after Miles Bridges got kind of reinstated, that they would try to make a play for Bridges, because I thought Bridges is a tremendous player. I like Miles Bridges as a player more than Mikal Bridges. Miles Bridges is a big time guy, but he signed a 1-year deal, went back to Charlotte. That would have been, even though his domestic violence thing has been put to bed, and his ex-wife or whatever is saying he deserves a second chance and so on and so forth. I don't know how that would have played in the Bay Area, to be totally honest. But what do you think of an Oubre reunion? I mean, I didn't love Oubre, but I didn't love him partially because I felt like, they paid him too much and he was just a terrible fit. But, if you get him on a minimum deal, he's pretty athletic. I mean, I still don't like the fact that he just is one of these guys that he falls in love with his shot, and his shot isn't great. And it's like, you're going to waste an awful lot of shots from that guy trying to show that he's got some outside game, when in reality, he could beat almost anybody off the dribble at will and get into the lane, but he just doesn't want to do it for the most part. He wants to, hang on the perimeter and hoist. I don't know. What do you think? How do you think? I mean, there were times when Draymond just waved him off of, off the floor almost, like, get out of that corner. And he just seemed like the way that D'Lo didn't fit. I almost felt like Oubre also didn't fit. And I don't see him at any price tag. I don't know that he fits, but I like him a whole lot more on a minimum than I did before. Where are you on Oubre?
Yeah, the IQ was lackluster. It was kind of alarming with Oubre. I mean, him and Steph Curry were like caught in the corner, like standing next to each other like multiple times. Like, Oubre, you're supposed to set a screen for Curry. That's what we do here. Set a screen for Curry. That's who we're trying to free up. Like, it didn't click. So that being said, at the minimum, looking at the remaining free agents, I mean, Oubre would be one of the more intriguing names, Christian Wood, Dario Saric, Kelly Oubre. Those tend to be the names kind of jumping out at me as the most prestigious NBA free agents at the moment. I mean, so absolutely. Right now, the Warriors got 2 roster spots. They got to sign 2 players. One of them has to be a forward that can shoot it. And then I'm thinking with that last one, go get one more big guy. I know we floated out Mo Bamba, Willie Hernan Gomez, maybe.
I like Kaminsky. I think Kaminsky knows how to play.
Kaminsky, yeah. And he can shoot it too. Kaminsky's he's a respectable shooter from deep.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see which way. And on the Giant front, man, one last thought on. There's an awful lot of talk that the Padres are gonna break it up and trade Juan Soto. That would be a tough guy for me. I mean, to me, Juan Soto is kind of the one that got away. More so than some of these other guys. Now, I don't think I would want to sign Juan Soto unless I could. I don't think I'd want to trade for Juan Soto unless I had a reasonable chance to sign him long term. And I don't know if that's possible. But if he were open to it, I would. You want Marco Luciano?
Yes,
we'll make it happen.
Yes, that's I'm okay with. Even though I know it's a 1-year reno with Juan Soto. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, no, you'd have him the rest of this year and next year.
Oh.
He's a free agent at the end of 24.
So I mean, I would probably trade. I'd probably be willing to give up besides Kyle Harrison, Luciano or Wisenhunt, whoever the next. I'd be willing to give up a couple prospects. It's Juan freaking Soto.
Oh, I know.
So yeah, I mean, I would personally, I already said my philosophy on it. I would trade some of these prospects for known commodities within reason. I'm not going to give up all my talented farm players. That's just dumb. But a couple to go get Juan Soto, and I got him for this year and next year. Oh, come on. That's easy.
And you still have all the money that you offered Correa, and all the money you offered Judge, and all the money you were planning on offering Shohei. The one thing I'll say is that Juan Soto is a very good baseball player, where Ohtani is a transcendent gate. He's going to be a gate attraction. I mean, he transcends baseball. He's a bigger. He's gonna. You're gonna sell more jerseys.
He's the face of baseball right now.
Right. I mean, and he's more than a baseball player. Where, if you look at Juan Soto, he's damn good, but he's a damn good baseball player. Ron Holder says Soto might attract Ohtani. Well, that's the other factor. If you were talking to, as John Heyman says, Giants are in contact with Ohtani's, representatives and this and that. And I don't know, obviously you can't talk while he's a member of the Angels, but you might be able to get an idea from his representative as far as what kind of thing he's looking for. And maybe he is looking for protection in the lineup or some major, other player there. And if you thought that trading for Soto could help you sign Ohtani, heck, you trade for Soto. Soto's presence helps you sign Ohtani. Ohtani's presence helps you re-sign Soto. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe. I mean, I'll say this. I'd be very excited if those two guys were Giants.
Oh, man, I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for it. I mean, when's the last time the Giants had, Buster Posey, but like a superstar power bat?
Bonds.
It's been Bonds, right? It's been Bonds. It's been a while. So somebody you can go out there and you're like, hey, this guy's going to get you 35 plus jacks year in and year out.
Bring it. Hey, man, have a great 4th. We'll talk to you hopefully next week, and camp's just around the corner.
Larry had a blast. Yeah, we'll definitely be talking some 49ers here soon. The chat was live. Hey, make sure you guys check me out. You see it on the screen here. Bayareaballer 18. We're cooking up a lot of good stuff. I just did some 49ers trivia.
Nice.
49ers trivia. If you want to go back, test yourself. We had about 10 participants, and it was big time. So
everybody who's in the chat right now, go to Bayareaballer 18, hit like and subscribe, and help Baller build up that channel. Baller, have a great 4th, man. Good to see you.
Hey, Larry, appreciate it. Be safe tomorrow.
You do the same. Take care. There you go. Bayareaballer. Fantastic. All right, we're going to jump over to Danny's channel here in a minute, but let's thank our sponsors. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera.
So New York style sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it. Hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
All right, coming down the home stretch on the Krueg Show, we are at 19,632 subs. Hit like and subscribe and help us get to 20,000 subs before training camp. Also, if you go to thekruegshow.com, you can order merchandise. Everybody who orders merchandise gets a personalized video from yours truly. Thank you very much to everybody for supporting the channel. Thanks to Baller and Danny for stopping by. I'm going to roll over to Danny's channel. Join me over there, NorCal Sports Network. It'll be awesome. We got over 120 people in the chat right now. Let's all go there and hit like and subscribe on Danny's channel and help him grow that thing. He's getting it bigger and bigger and bigger. And we can help him out by hitting like and subscribe over at NorCal Sports Network. Join me over there. We're going to chat it up, talk a little baseball before we call it quits tonight. Giants lose, Warriors lose in the Summer League. We got the debut of Brandon Podjemski, 12.6 boards, 6 assists for the rookie out of Santa Clara. All right. Hope you enjoyed the Krueg Show. Join me right now on Danny's channel. We'll talk a little Giants baseball next.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, get it.